In today's video, I'll zip through the game I played as Tripoli in round 2 of the Shores of Tripoli Tournament of Champions. Join me here today on Legendary Tactics. Okay, and off we go. I'm playing Tripoli in this game, and my American opponent starts off with Launch the Intrepid, which is an interesting first play. I like to save that for when there's frigates in the game, but my opponent decides to use it to take out a couple of Corsairs, gets lucky with the help of the daring Stephen Decatur, and so I'm looking at my cards. So I've got adding troops to Benghazi, Philadelphia runs aground, and 2 allies to declaring war right off the bat. Very promising. Also, I have Uncharted Waters, which helps the Philadelphia runs aground as well. So some good opportunities here. I am going to take the opportunity, though, to play Murad Reyes Breaks Out and to restore those Corsairs to the to Tripoli. And interestingly, my opponent builds a gunboat, which I was not expecting, and it leaves me free to do a pirate raid from Tripoli, which I do, and capture a couple of merchant ships, get a couple of gold coins, and we move on to fall. And this move was particularly interesting, actually. So the next move is naval movement, which actually, sorry, this move wasn't the interesting one, just a blockade, which makes sense. And so I thought, well, let's do a bit of distraction here. Let's put Tangier and Morocco into play. And so I was expecting something maybe where, the next frigate would be blockading Tangier or something along those lines. My opponent plays early deployment and, in fact, does just that. Kind of an interesting play. So I followed up with Tunis and declaring war there to scatter their efforts. Of course, I'm lining up Yusuf Karamanli core event card, and just to look at the hand that I drew here, I drew the couple of opportunities to have Tunis raid, troops to Dern, to Benghazi. Sweden pays tribute to great defensive card against those Swedish frigates coming into play. Tripoli acquires Corsairs, again, great, and merchant ship converted. So I've got some opportunities to rebuild my fleet of Corsairs in Tripoli. So overall, it looks pretty good. The card I decided to discard was one of the Tunisian Corsairs raid. I figured that was a little bit extraneous, but here's the play that really surprised me. So the next card he plays is naval movement, which is not totally unexpected, but look what happens here. The U.S. moves into Tripoli with the gunboat, all in to sink some Corsairs, and even plays Preble's Boys Take Aim to enhance the rolls. Scores 3 hits, which unfortunately I missed. It would have been great to have at least 1 hit there, but kind of decimates my Corsairs. And I was really surprised by that move. Now Cax played a game as well where there was a very aggressive U.S. player. I think ultimately it's a high risk, high reward strategy. I think it can go well, but there are instances or opportunities for it to go poorly also. So, but it's a very interesting style of play and very disconcerting if you haven't seen it before. So I looked at the board. I know Tripoli is depleted, but we've got unprotected Tunis and Tangier. And so I think it's time to play Yusuf Karamanli, get 7 rolls out there. Tangier scores us a coin. Tunis scores a coin, and surprisingly, Tripoli scores a coin. So overall, pretty reasonable results. And we're at 5 coins so far. Happy hunting, merchant ship converted gives us an additional Corsair, and so I thought that's pretty good. I wonder what is next. And of course, Tripoli gets blockaded again. So we just did a raid from Tunis, And because again, wide open, why not? Managed to get another couple of coins. So we're hopefully putting the pressure on. It's 7-5 now, and we have some good potential opportunities to keep pushing that envelope. Now the U.S. discards a card to move 2 frigates and basically blockades the Allies. So which is to be expected. You know, you never know what might happen with there. But I figured this is a good opportunity to use the Philadelphia runs aground. With the help of uncharted waters, we actually capture a frigate. So that was pretty good, I thought. Now, unfortunately, countered with Burn the Philadelphia and got a lucky roll to damage the frigate. Now, ultimately, this was, I think, either a reactionary move. It wasn't the best of moves, I don't think, because damaging the frigate in the winter of a year means it's just going to come right back the following year. I finished off, though. My final play was Tripoli acquires Corsairs, so we're rebuilding our fleet. And I'm kind of liking my position overall. We got storms now in hand. We got opportunities to raid from Algiers. But we don't have the card to declare war with Algiers. So that's the only problem. U.S. supplies runs low, and we're hanging up. We got happy hunting. The guns of Tripoli could also be handy, but maybe not right now. So we're going to discard down, and we're going to hang on to these cards here. And we got rid of one of the Algerine Corsairs raid because unfortunately we're going to have to just try and hang on to that card until next turn. The first play is Show of Force, and that goes into Morocco Tangier, which is unfortunate because that was the one that still likely had cards available, had a card available in the draw deck. But anyway, that ends that alliance, and but that's okay. It's going to happen. So I discarded a card to basically raid from Tripoli, and I lost a Corsair intercepted, but I had happy hunting, so it gave me a few extra dice, and I missed entirely. Now that was actually a point in the game which could have literally changed the course of the game. Getting 2 or, well, if I was really lucky, 3 coins there, which is not a totally unexpected kind of thing. Could have won. I mean, I theoretically could have won the game if I'd rolled just 5s and 6s there, but that's unlikely. But even 2 or 3 coins, and that's real pressure for the U.S. player. But as is, the pressure was not on, and naval movement next decides to go all in on battling in Tunis with at least with 3 frigates. Fortunately misses entirely, which is great. Unfortunately, I also miss entirely and miss out on the chance of either getting rid of the gunboat and or damaging one of the frigates. So I decided to add troops to Benghazi with a view to build troops up in Dern. Spring of 1804 is coming, and so is Hamet's army, so we have to prepare for that. My opponent discards a card to play 2 frigates just to reinforce Tripoli and the patrol zone there. So I decide to let's muck around with storms and see how we do. And then we totally miss, unfortunately. So that would have put some pressure on. A loss of a frigate there would have been great. And finally, tribute is paid to Tunis. And that gives me 2 coins. And now you see where that pirate raid could have won the game potentially, or put us in very good position. Would have made that tribute paid very hard to play, if not impossible to play, for the U.S. and kept Tunis as a threat. So anyway, I reinforced the troops to Dern. Hamet's army is not coming immediately because the frigate is not in Alexandria. We have some opportunities to raid from Morocco. Those are useless now. Tripoli attacks could be useful, potentially, if there's a 1 or maybe even 2 frigates in the patrol zone. That might be worth trying. Still hanging on to Sweden pays tribute. It's going to be very difficult for the U.S. to play Sweden at this point, knowing full well that the Sweden pays tribute is most certainly in my hand. So Algiers declares war is also now on the table, which is great. So we'll just discard down. And the first play by the U.S. after they discard is Constantinople demands tribute. So that is a bit of a setback for me. I'm not in a position to really get some piracy going. So I'm going to discard to build another Corsair in Tripoli. And this is a very good play, I thought, well-timed. The U.S. plays Bainbridge and draws back Constantinople demands tribute to really claw back those coins and make it really tough now for me to get out there and to win this by piracy. Declare war with Algiers, and naval movement is next to blockade Algiers pretty effectively. And so you use U.S. supplies run low just to kind of disrupt the patrols there. Now, I don't know if that was really the best move. It might have been actually, in retrospect, better to build another Corsair. But anyway, the U.S. Then authorizes action and sets up the rest of their fleet to arrive the following turn, which was just right around the corner. And so I discarded a card there to build another Corsair in Tripoli. So where we at right now? Okay, Storms, which is a great card, better when there's more frigates in the same space, so we get more chance at attacks. We've got the opportunity to raid with the Algerine Corsairs, although there is a blockade in place now. We can reinforce some troops in Benghazi and Tripoli, so we're and there's some otherwise not that useful cards. With those are fine. It's good to have some opportunities to discard as well, just in case you just want to build a Corsair or do a pirate raid. It's still a good idea. So we discard down. No sign of Hammett's army yet, which I was really surprised at. We're getting into 1805 here. So the U.S. then shuts things down with a show of force, which is very unfortunate. And so I decide to venture out as a pirate raid from Tripoli. It's probably my best chance. And we get a merchant ship, but at the cost of a Corsair. So a bit of a challenge there. But anyway, here's the interesting move now. Sets up Hammett's army and blockades Tripoli. So things are looking pretty good for the U.S. I'm not really threatening from a piracy point of view, but I'm figuring that I'm going to give him a good run for his money as far as a treaty win. That's my goal anyway. So we'll see if I can pull that off. All those frigates in the Tripoli patrol zone is perfect for storms, and I managed to sink one of them and damage another, which is great. Now it is in the fall. It would have been great to play this in 1806, so that frigate would have left the game, but it does put some pressure on now. Now the Swedes get played very late in the game. It's probably the latest I've ever seen them played, in the fall of 1805. So I send them right home again with Sweden pays tribute, collect a couple coins, still looking to win by piracy if I can. The U.S. does not have a lot of time. Creates Hammett's army to end off the year. So just in time for 1806, Hammett's army has arrived. And so seeing that, then I reinforce Benghazi. I'm not going to make it an easy path to Tripoli. And I've got to kind of keep an eye on which cards I need here. But I've got a lot of useless cards here, actually. I've got a bunch of Corsairs raid, all allies that have left 5 cards that are essentially useless events. And U.S. supplies run low. I don't know, it's a very middling event. So there's really only a handful of decent cards in hand here. I can hopefully reinforce Dern on the first turn. But other than that, it's not a particularly great looking setup here. So I can easily discard down. That was probably the easiest discard I've ever faced. And my opponent discards down and plays, interestingly, Bainbridge to revive naval movement. And this was the interesting move. It goes all in on Tripoli, scores one hit, and it being 1806, I'm not going to give up my frigate. And actually, what I figured was going on here was an attempt to sink my frigate so that there could be a treaty win. I managed to score 2 hits though, which is great. Obviously, the gunboat is going to be one of them. The other one is going to be the frigate from the U.S. side there. So that frigate will now leave the game, so weakening the naval force here. And I was thinking, okay, let's reinforce the troops in Durn. Now it's kind of an interesting setup. But this is where, if you're a good fan of the game, you may see an opening here that I totally missed. And in retrospect, I see what I should have done. But I reinforced Durn, and naval movement came up again. And look, I couldn't believe it. I was just wondering, what the heck is this guy doing? Got another hit. I scored 3 hits, which is huge. That sent 3 frigates out of the game, not lost. But I thought, oh my gosh, I think I could win here. This is great. But again, I was not paying close attention. I was building another Corsair, just thinking what I should have done perhaps is to place 2 Tripolitan infantry troops to Tripoli. But I honestly did not see the threat. I thought, wow, this is in the bag. He built a gunboat. So I tried a pirate raid, and this again was a mistake on my part. 2 Corsairs were lost. I did get 1 coin, but then assault on Tripoli, and this is the move that caught me totally by surprise. I got cocky because I just didn't see this card coming. So assault on Tripoli happens. It's they get some lucky rolls. I get a couple hits, but I suffer 3 hits, and there go my Corsairs, and the U.S. fleet is entirely done. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I don't understand what that move was all about, until the play send in the Marines happens. Now, in combination with Marine sharpshooters, ended up taking out a good chunk of my army in one roll. I got 1 Marine, and then suddenly it was my army was completely wiped out, and my opponent won on assault on Tripoli. And what I really should have done was build more troops in Tripoli, and I just did not see that coming. Mercenaries desert was useless because there were no mercenaries. There was no Arab infantry units. And just in retrospect, I did make a couple of mistakes. That last pirate raid, I should have avoided that, and I should have done something like just building Corsairs, just reinforcing, locking down Tripoli. I did not anticipate that move. So if you're newer to the game, Shores of Tripoli, that is something that that you should keep an eye out for. I know in this case, I felt like I snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But I definitely learned a lesson, and I will definitely improve my play next time. So I hope you got some strategy ideas from this, and learned a little bit more about the game. I know I did. I feel that I did probably outplay my opponent, but in the end, there was that move that I just did not see coming, and I should have locked things down. So I definitely am improving here, as I said. So thank you so much for watching. And please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And we'll look forward to seeing you here next time on Legendary Tactics.